Fusion Mobile, quality e-learning experience on the go.
In this segment, we'll be looking at Amadako's Faceless. Now, Faceless is the other novel that is under the African prose category. The other one that we looked at was Lonely Days by Bayo Adebowale. Now, here comes Faceless by Amadako, a Ghanaian writer. Now, briefly, we'll look at the background and the setting of this play. Now, it is important to note that this play was set in Ghana. It was set to look at the life of the street children, the life of the street child. Now, you find out that this is an issue which the author was trying to mirror, to look at. Now, the story revolves around Fofo, who is a 14-year-old girl who lives in the streets. Now, the setting there is Agboglishe market area. Now, imagine a street child living in the market. At the end of the day, we see Fofo, who is the major character, that is vulnerable and open to attacks by hoodlums, such as Poison and other characters in the novel. Now, what is the writer trying to achieve? Now, you find out that this play looks at the precarious nature of children roaming in the streets. Most of these children are from single homes, broken homes, with little or no care or attention from their parents. That is the plight of Fofo and her sister, Baby T. So, under this, we can now understand the background and the setting. Now, one of the places mentioned in this play is Sodom and Gomorrah. Now, Sodom and Gomorrah is mentioned as a place where this story occurs. It is a place of so many atrocities, so much sin, and it's a place where the street children, they roam about with no future. They are vulnerable and open to attacks from bullies such as Poison and other adult characters who sexually abuse these children. Now, having looked at the background and the setting of the play, we will now look at the story proper. Now, the story, as we said, centers on Fofo, a 14-year-old girl. As at the time the story unveils, she has discovered that her elder sister, known as Baby T, has died. Her body is actually found in the market. She was beaten and her body was mutilated. So they find the corpse in the marketplace. Now, Fofo is a street child living in Sodom and Gomorrah, a place that is not good for anybody, especially children. She has made it a task to find out what happened to her sister, Baby T, whose body was dumped in the market. Baby T is the third child of the mother, whose name is Masuru. Masuru has 4 children. Fofo is the last born. Baby T is the third. Now, we do not really see what happened to the first 2 children, which are believed to be boys. Actually, Masuru is a single mother. Her husband left her. Her husband abandoned the family because he believed that Masuru was cursed. Now, he believed that Masuru was cursed, and so he left her. Now, at the end of the day, Masuru gets involved with another man, Kpakpo. Now, Kpakpo becomes her living lover. Now, the first 2 children are not able to bear the circumstances of their living. They are not able to bear what her mother is doing with Kpakpo, and they leave, thus leaving Baby T and Fofo. Masuru is characterized as a very weak character. She's a single mother who has no power over her children. She is a woman of indiscipline. She's not an exemplary mother. Because at the end of the day, in the lifetime of Baby T, she was sold into prostitution. That is, Baby T was sold into prostitution. Kpakpo, who is a living lover, has also sexually abused her. That is Baby T. Kpakpo sexually abuses Baby T. And in her confusion and devastation, Baby T decides to confide in somebody. Baby T cannot confide in her mother because she knows that her mother is irresponsible. So Baby T confides in one of their uncles who lives in the same neighborhood as them. His name is called Uncle. Now, Uncle is a neighbor living in with them, and Baby T confides in him. However, unfortunately, Uncle takes advantage of her vulnerability and confusion and also rapes Baby T. Now, it is at this juncture that even when Masuru finds out what happened to her daughter, she's not able to do anything. However, she is bribed. She collects money from these men. She collects money from the proceeds of Baby T's ventures. And so that is an example of what makes her an irresponsible mother. Fofo, on the other hand, has not undergone part of what Baby T has experienced. Fofo is almost tending towards that path until her deliverance comes. Now, at the beginning of the play, it should be noted that while Fofo was sleeping, one of the street lords, known as Poison, is attempting to rape her. She wards off that attempt. She wakes up and escapes. When she escapes, she goes to meet her friend Odali and shares this experience with her. Now, what is Fofo's resolve? Fofo's resolve is to leave Sodom and Gomorrah because the place is unsafe for her. Now, she has no money, and what does she do? She attempts to steal at the market. It is during this time that she encounters Cabria. Cabria actually was in the market, the Agbobloshe market, and she had seen the corpse of Baby T. Now, while she and other people are looking at the corpse, Fofo attempts to steal from her. Now, unfortunately, Fofo is caught, but somehow Cabria is seen to be a kind soul, and Cabria does not punish Fofo. Now, it is through Cabria that Fofo receives her salvation. She receives her redemption from the streets. Cabria works with a non-governmental organization known as MUTE, that is Mute. Now, this non-governmental organization, they are interested in helping street children and giving them a better life. Unfortunately, Baby T does not have this chance because she has already been beaten and she dies. Her body is dumped and mutilated. It is believed that this criminal act is associated with the men that have sexually abused her. So now Cabria becomes Fofo's salvation. Now, we are going to look at the themes being itemized in this play. The first is parental irresponsibility. Now, I will just read a brief excerpt here. Parental irresponsibility is an important issue in the novel that is connected to the street child. Now, why will a child go to the streets? The only reason, or the first reason that can be associated with a child going to the street is when the home is not a fertile ground or a good ground for him or her to grow. In fact, most of the children who end up in the streets are products of homes where either of their parents, often the father, is irresponsible. Kwe, who is Fofo's father, abandons his responsibilities towards the children simply because he believes that his wife, Masuru, is cursed. The same thing applies to Odali's father. Odali is Fofo's friend. Kpakpo is also an irresponsible man, that is the living lover of Masuru. Kpakpo is irresponsible towards the children of Masuru. Masuru's father has also acted irresponsibly by disowning Masuru's pregnancy. Women are not spared in this issue of parental irresponsibility. Now, we are not only going to talk about fathers. Now, Masuru as a mother could not carry the responsibility of training the children and teaching them the right ways, even in their father's absence. Odali's mother claims that her daughter steals her things and therefore sacks her from the home, leaving her to street demons to treat her like treat her as they like, instead of correcting and putting her daughter on the right track. Masuru, however, who demonstrates the greatest parental irresponsibility in the novel. She stops being responsible for the feeding of the children and their upkeep at a very tender age. Thus, the children have to fend for themselves. For example, baby T is sold into prostitution, and it is through this act of sexual abuse that is how she meets her death. Bakpo, who is Masuru's living lover, is characterized as somebody who was supposed to be a substitute father, but he sexually abuses his stepdaughter, also known as baby T. There are also other characters, Onko, who sexually abuses baby T. So somehow, some of the adults in this story, they are characterized as irresponsible. They ought to teach the children the right way to go, but the reverse is the case. So having looked at the theme, we have also explained that money is the root of all evil. And so, to summarize that, we see Masuru pushing her children to the streets. Now, that also brings us to another theme, which is the issue of single parenthood. Single parenthood can be hard. However, it can be more difficult, especially when the single parent in question is irresponsible. Now, it says here that women are generally portrayed in the novel as the disadvantaged sex. And that is why we find them being sexually abused or exploited in other ways. They are often burdened by the responsibility of raising the child. Now, you can see how Kwei, Masuru's husband, how he abandons her, and the woman is left with no choice. In the instances of single parenthood we have in the novel, women are the ones abandoned to face the challenge of raising their children alone. So we have also seen in the case of Masuru, whose husband abandoned her. We also have the case of Odali's father, also abandoning his wife and daughter. Remember, Odali is Fofo's friend. She also has experienced the same fate. Her father has also abandoned them to marry another woman. Women left in this situation are not only faced with economic challenge, they also experience emotional loneliness. Now, this is how you see how Masuru takes in Kpakpo as her living lover. And at the end of the day, this affair, it brings about a problem because Kpakpo abuses her daughter sexually. Now, another thing we will look at is the issue of social responsibility. Now, the figures of social responsibility in this novel are the human resource personnel in the non-governmental organization known as MUTE. Now, the MUTE, one of the officers is Cabria. Now, Cabria has observed that there are street children around, looking around Sodom and Gomorrah, and she has encountered Fofo. So at the end of the day, Cabria stands as a figure of social responsibility. She is not the type who would see such evil and keep quiet. She wants to help, and that is how she becomes the salvation of Fofo. She brings Fofo out from the street. Another thing we should look at is, in as much as we see the families of Masuru, Odali, Baby T, and these irresponsible people. Now, at the other hand, we can see Cabria and her family. They are responsible. Cabria has the number of children that she can take care of. Now, Cabria's family is the opposite of Masuru's family. Cabria has the number of children she can take care of. She has a husband. They both live together, and there is a mutual and cordial relationship in the family. Now, you find out that Cabria represents a parent or a mother who can actually groom children in the perfect environment. We see that her children, they are not victims to sexual abuse because they live within the family in a very proper home. So that is another thing we are to note in this novel. At this point, we will look at the major characters in the novel. We see Fofo. The first person is Fofo. She's a 14-year-old girl, the 14-year-old daughter of Masuru. Now, it is through Fofo. Now, Fofo plays a very symbolic role because it is through Fofo that we actually get to know what happens to her sister, Baby T. And through her narration, we also find out about Baby T's end. We find out what happens to Baby T through the investigations made by the MUTE non-governmental organization. Now, what is the significance of Fofo's character? She's the protagonist. She turns out to, though she is a victim, but somehow she turns out to be a hero. She's a victim of parental abandonment and irresponsibility. And somehow her collaboration with the non-governmental organization MUTE makes her a hero. She assumes the role reversal relation with her mother in few interactions between her and her mother. She's assertive and she represents the voice of reason. Now, another character we'll look at is Masuru, who is a single mother, the parents of Fofo and Baby T. Now, we already know what Masuru stands for, but let us look at the significance of her role. Her life and those of her children clearly illustrate the likely outcome of single parenting. A broken home never makes a wholesome life for children. But for luck, Fofo could have gone the same way of her sister. But because of luck, she's central to the theme of exploitation in the novel. She's sexually and economically exploited by the men in her life. For example, Kwei, Kpakpo, okay? On the other hand, she also exploits her children, especially Baby T, who she sells into prostitution. Another significance of her role is that Masuru's action of releasing Baby T to Mama Abidjan and her indifference on discovering the service to which the girl is put are contributory, if not responsible for the destruction of the girl's life. Another character we'll look at is Cabria. Cabria is an officer in the non-governmental organization. She's the founder of MUTE, and she's a mother of 3. She's married to a man who still believes the world is a man's own. Cabria diligently and efficiently combines her roles as a wife, mother, and a working class woman. Now, what is the role of Cabria? As we have said, Cabria is the redemption of Fofo, because though by accident of fate, Cabria connects Fofo to MUTE, that is the organization, this link eventually lifts the girl out of the street. She's a caring wife and a mother. She wakes up early to prepare breakfast for her husband and her children. She gets the children ready for school. She is very friendly but firm with her children. She runs a very good home, and that is how she appears to be a contrast to Masuru and her street children. Now, we'll also look at the role of Poison. Poison is the product of a dysfunctional home. He hits the street at the age of 8. By 15, he has acquired sufficient experience in the streets and boldness to become his own master. He recruits girls into prostitution, becomes a feared pimp and lord of portion of the Accra streets. Now, you remember we encounter Poison at the first scene in the novel where he tries to rape Fofo. Now, the significance of his role, his actions and denial delay the resolution of the conflict of the novel. He is involved in what is clearly called a very negative act, which is the attempt of rape on Fofo. Fofo later finds alliance with MUTE and Harvest FM, a radio station. Poison is her antagonist, also finds collaborators in the characters of Mama Abidjan, Mama Bruni, Kpakpo, Onko. These characters I just mentioned, they are also in league with Poison. They stand for the negative figures in this story. As a character, he is central to some of the major themes in this novel. He is the perpetrator of sexual abuse, rape, sexual exploitation of innocent girls. He also threatens and causes fear in people. He is also very greedy for money. All this thematically enrich the novel. Okay, so lastly, we'll look at the language and style used in this story. Now, the style, the language, it's a very progressive plot. Now, let us first of all look at the narrative point of view used by the author. She uses omniscient point of view. It is narrated using the third person point of view, which involves the narrator knowing the thoughts and actions, everything that happens in the story, including the characters' thoughts. In the novel, a lot of information about principal characters and past events are provided for the reader by the narrator. For instance, it is the narrator who tells of all that had happened to Masuru, who is Fofo's mother, before the present, as well as what informed some of the current actions or reactions of other characters, such as Mama Brony, Bakpo, Onko, and so on. Now, language and style. Faceless is a story built around the mystery of Baby T's death, who is Fofo's elder sister. The device of mystery is the staple of detective novels, where the story is all about uncovering the mysterious. Now, we must also take note of the use of contrast used in this novel. Now, the use of contrast comes to play when we place the family of Masuru and Kabria side by side. We see the corrupt practices that occur in Masuru's family. We see the corrupt practices that occur within these characters: Bakpo, Onko, Masuru, Mama Brony, Mama Abidjan. Now, these are collaborators. These are the perpetrators of the exploitation of street children. While on the other hand, we see a contrast. Kabria and her family, she has a number of children she can take care of. Her husband is a loving man. And you find out that the children are not victims because they live in a home that is that makes provision for warmth and security for the children. Now, we must also take note of the use of substandard English and pidgin. Of course, this is Ghana. We see an example. Consider this line: she dies because she does something bad, something very bad. She gets husband in her hometown. Then she leave him and come to Accra. Now, this statement was, it occurs during Silvopo's Good Morning Ghana. Good Morning Ghana show, when one of the sponsored callers from Poison leaks up the program to make her contributions. Now, a caller was talking during the, this statement, this excerpt I just read is from a caller during a radio show. The reason for the use is simply to reflect the social status of the caller. There is also the use of sayings and parallel expositions. For example, in chapter 10, it is often written that no Ghanaian with money would choose to live in the inner city. If he has to, then only as part of an established extended family household. Each chapters, such as chapter 10, 12, 17, 21, 23, and 24, begins with a saying, a brief explanation of a saying. This is a piece of advice or an observation which serves as a backdrop to the narration. Now, you find out that this story is rich in so many lessons. It actually mirrors a lot of life issues concerning the street child, especially the fact that the issue of the street children is prevalent in a lot of developing countries. Now, we'll look at some questions. Now, describe in detail Kabria's encounter with Fofo at Agbogbloshie Market. Comment on the unusual highlights of the experience. Another thing we should look at, attempt a character sketch on Fofo. What do you think of her character? And also, how can you say Fofo is a hero or a heroine in this story? And also, another final question you should look at is itemize or discuss the prevalent themes in Amadako's Faceless. Now, as this is being listed, some of these questions will be displayed or popped up on your screen. I believe you have found this material very useful. Thank you so much.